What's going on, guys? It's Cimo. Today I'm going to be bringing you some advanced tips and tricks to help you win more games in Marvel Snap. Shout out to Marvel Snap for sponsoring today's video. And if you missed my first video explaining a how-to-play guide on just breaking down all of the different basics of the game, I would highly recommend checking out that video first. I'll have the link down in the description, because if you're just jumping into this video, this may not make a ton of sense, although this game is pretty simple to follow along, which is one of the appeals of it. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm actually just going to jump straight into a game and discuss some of these tips as we are playing, because I think that's more exciting than just having a static background. So first and foremost, the biggest thing you want to realize is that with your energy, since there are only 6 turns throughout the game and you gain 1 energy per turn, you only have 21 energy to spend throughout the duration of the entire game. So you want to make sure that you maximize the efficiency of that. It's not like other games where you might have even more beyond that, and so each turn can actually matter. Otherwise, you're missing out on a precious resource. This obviously doesn't apply to if there are other effects in place, but just something to keep in mind. For turn 1 here, we can either lead with Quicksilver or Hawkeye. I kind of want to lead with Quicksilver because Hawkeye has the ability to give us +2 if we play another card on the same turn, but we don't really have a good follow-up at this point. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and just put Quicksilver here. We're just going to pass. We're both going to put a card here because the Moyer Island here, after each turn, give cards here +1 power. So that's just going to give us both a buff, and so that's going to make us really want to fight for that, just because giving us 1 power at each turn, that's pretty strong. So moving into turn 2, I have a Sentinel which I can play, which would be on curve, or I could go for the Hawkeye. But if I play Sentinel, I'm going to get another copy of Sentinel per his ability. So that's going to lead into my turn 3, which then I can play Hawkeye and Sentinel, possibly lead into a turn 4 with Jessica. And we also have the Onslaught Citadel revealed in the location, which ongoing effects here are double. Don't have many of those at the moment. Neither of these are ongoing. They're both on reveal. So I think for now what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and put Sentinel maybe over here on the right side. I should also mention too the order as to which cards are actually revealed. So since up in the top right, Shocker, our opponent, is highlighted in orange, their cards are going to be revealed first. So if I go ahead and put Sentinel down here and pass the turn, as you can see, their Star-Lord gets revealed before our Sentinel. And that really matters depending on how you're trying to sequence certain things. Maybe there's an ability to destroy a minion that's on the field, and as a result of that, if that were to happen, if they play the card first before you do, you could maybe snipe their card as well. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. So once again, the island triggers and it's going to continue to buff. We are losing, so again, Shocker is still highlighted and they are going to reveal first. But now we have a possible turn 3 play here with Sentinel and Hawkeye, or even now Medusa and Hawkeye, since we drew this as well. The final location reveal, the Avengers Compound. On turn 5, all cards must be played here, so that's something to keep in mind for turn 5. And that's also something to note, is that the locations will change every single game. And I think that's what I like about this game, is that it's very dynamic in that both you and your opponent can have the same strategy or their respective strategies, but you have to play around whatever the locations are, which are random. So I think for this turn, we're going to try to fight for this middle one a bit here. So I'm going to go ahead and play Medusa here in the center, because that'll get to a +4 since it's in the middle. And since this island seems to be a point of contention, maybe we're going to go ahead and put Hawkeye here. Maybe we can play a card there next turn, and we'll just pass for our turn 3. Again, we're being very mana efficient here, wanting to make sure that we can use everything possible, and that way we can maybe start to fight back here a little bit. The island's going to buff both of our minions on both sides. Sadly, we are still going to be losing here, so they're going to be revealing first, but now we're going to be moving into turn 4. So obviously, Jessica's maybe the best play here, because this can go up to 8 next turn, because if we don't play a card in the same zone. So we may want to do that. The compound is going to be online next turn, so we're going to have to play all of our cards there no matter what next turn. So I think Jessica's just going to be the move. We'll fight on the island here. We'll just keep it, and we'll see what happens. Looks like we're both going to play a card here. Shocker drops down the Thing. We're going to drop down Jessica. Everything's going to get buffed, but next turn, we're actually going to take the lead, because Jessica is going to go ahead and get a +4 on our next turn. So we're only down by 1, but they are going to continue to be leading in the card draw. So turn 5, all cards must be played on the Avenger Compound, which is a little bit annoying, but it's also not the end of the world either. So we could play Mr. Fantastic and Sentinel, which would be on curve. The only issue with that is Mr. Fantastic doesn't get the full value unless it's played the middle, but we want to save Hulk for turn 6 because that's sort of our big finishing push. And so I think maybe just to be efficient, I might drop Mr. Fantastic on the compound as well as Sentinel just to get the most value possible. I could go Sentinel Nightcrawler, but that's just not enough. We get more value here, so I'm just going to drop everything down here and let's just see what happens. So that's turn 5. Jessica gets a boost, so we're actually winning now on the left location. They're going to have a Sarah. Mr. Fantastic's going to give us 2 in the center, and Sentinel's going to give us another copy of itself, and I think we're just going to be 1 under there, but we are now winning 2 of the 3 compounds, and as a result of that, we now have the ability to have our cards revealed first. Will it matter? Potentially, potentially not, but we have to think how we're going to win this one out. So we're barely winning on the left side. The middle hasn't really had much contention, but any ongoing effect could be doubled there, and we are losing here on the right side. So we could go for Hulk for the plus 12, or we could go Sentinel, Nightcrawler, and Punisher, because that does equal 6. Punisher has an ability that gets +1 for each opposing card, so that's 3. So Punisher could go up to 5, which is, that's fine. 5 plus 3 is 8, plus 2 is 10. So I think Hulk is still a little bit better. It just sort of helps diversify our cards and make sure that we stay in the lead. I kind of like that though, because we're winning in all locations. So I'm actually going to put Punisher here. I'm going to go ahead and drop Nightcrawler here. Nightcrawler is going to go up to 3. And then I'm going to put Sentinel here just to help us get up a little bit further here. And the ongoing effects will be double in the center, but I think we're actually going to be pretty safe. So let's end the final turn, see what happens. See, this is the value. Our opponent only played 1 card, but we get to play 3. So we actually get to maintain control of all 3 locations here. And let's see what they reveal. They may take this back. They may not. Spectrum's going to come in. It's going to give them a ton of buffs, but it is not enough. We control all 3 locations, and we are going to seal victory. So that's another one. We can go ahead and collect our rewards, and we can jump ourselves into the next game. So that last game was pretty close. I think we actually won it right at the end there. So let's see if we can go ahead and win another. This time we're up against Elektra. As you can tell, the locations are actually different. This first location has cards have -2 power here. So that's going to be a little bit frustrating to be able to fight against, just because anything that has 2 or less power is going to be effectively 0. So we don't really want to play anything there. Let's go ahead and just put Quicksilver in the middle and probably just call it a day. One thing you can also be mindful of is the turn timer, which is in the bottom right corner. You'll see where it says end turn. It'll be a purple bar, and that bar will be gradually reducing in time more and more. And that way you can know how much time you have left, even though it's not indicated by a number. Turns seem to be about 30-ish seconds, so do bear that in mind. Second location is Central Park, which gives a squirrel to each location. This is kind of funny just because we are not really doing anything at the moment on the left side, but we have a turn 2 play in Nightcrawler. We don't have a good turn 2 play, sadly, but we are able to do something. Nightcrawler's pretty cool, though, because we can move it once, and this is another ability that you definitely need to be mindful of, because if you're already winning heavily on one of your locations, you could move Nightcrawler to another one to help just fortify a position. So I think we're just going to go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and put Nightcrawler here. Maybe it'll matter, maybe it won't. We can move him later if we need to. So Nightcrawler's going to come down, and we're going to have both Hawkeye and Misty Knight come down for Elektra, but that's going to fully load up their right side, and that's not good, just because now they can't play anything else on the right side. It's asking us to snap here, which snapping allows us to effectively double down and get double the rewards for winning. And so now we're into turn 3. So we're looking pretty good. Our third location is a negative zone, which gives cards -3 power here. And so they're fully loaded up here. I think we're actually we have the right side on lock. This was just really bad RNG for the opponent, actually. So I sort of feel bad, but sometimes with the locations, that's what happens. But I do sort of like that it creates a new experience each time as a result of that. And in this particular case, it didn't exactly go too well for our opponent. So turn 3, I think I'm just going to throw Mr. Fantastic in the middle here, just because it's going to give +2 to all sides, including the center, with his ability to give adjacent locations +2 power. And I think that's just going to do it for us. We're going to see what happens. Mr. Fantastic's going to go ahead and help our sides. Cyclops is going to come down for Elektra, going to help them out a little bit there. We're still winning on all 3 fronts, though, so this is looking pretty good. Next up for turn 4, we only have one play if we want to be efficient, which is Jessica, and I think Jessica's probably the answer we want to go with. We're going to put Jessica on the left just to help us on the left side, and that way we can just reinforce our position. They only have one more card they can play there, and we still have two. So we're going to be looking pretty solid. Let's just wrap up that turn. Jessica's going to get revealed first because we are, of course, winning. They're going to reveal, and we basically have that on lock now as well. So I think we just have this game won by default, unless their last two turns, they play two cards in the middle that just buff everything to really help them out. But let's see what we can do. We're on turn 5. We could do a play of Medusa and Punisher. That could be okay, but we also have the ability to go Abomination for 5 as well. We could also go Hawkeye with Punisher as well, and then Abomination next turn potentially, but I don't really like that. I sort of like just dropping Abomination here because Hawkeye needs to get, well, actually Hawkeye won't get value next turn, so that's something to consider as well. But we're actually really out of zones too, so I think what I want to do is let's go ahead and drop ourselves. Could possibly save it for next turn. I could just put Medusa in center though. Let's reinforce our position. Let's just put Abomination here on the left and just pass. Let's just be super mana efficient. It's going to give us the maximum amount of value here. Elektra's going to drop both of those on their side. That's going to give them the lead, but again, I don't think there's any conceivable way they can catch up. They're actually out of cards that they can play here, and so what we can do is we can just drop our Punisher here in the center, which is going to get +1 for each of our opponent's cards. And we could just reinforce everything else because we still have 3 other energy we could use. So I guess we could just go Sentinel over here. I don't really want to play anything on the left because it gets -3, so that's actually a disadvantage there. So let's just play that. We get to play the last 2 cards, and that's going to give us +6 there. Sentinel's going to go down to 1, but it does give us 1 extra as insurance, and we control all 3 zones. So just like that, we won ourselves another game. So you can sort of see now how by being mana efficient, really ensuring that you're going to maximize your energy as much as possible so you have the most possible plays, while also making sure you still have availability across your different locations, because if you go all in too quickly, then you're not going to really be able to catch up. And in the instance of this game in particular, the locations, I think, really screwed over our opponent, unfortunately. But it is what it is. Guys, that is going to wrap it up for the video for Marvel Snap. I really hope you all enjoyed. If you're interested in playing, be sure to click the link down in the description to download the game for yourself. It is free to play. I have been playing free to play since I've had access to the game, and it's actually quite a lot of fun. So thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to like the video and subscribe, and we will see you next time.